Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Shane O'Donnell, I'm talking to you from a little bit of paradise in Sunshine Coast, Queensland, called Noosa. So, um, my weather today is a little bit overcast. It's been raining a bit, and but it's still absolutely beautiful temperature here. And I want to talk to you today about a human truth that not everyone is experiencing life as they would love it to be. Now, that's an interesting question or a statement, because we get up every day to experience life, but I think we get caught up with what everyone else is doing. And so we move into every day thinking we have to live life in a certain way. So, what I want to talk to you today about is this is a truth. It's not the truth, it's a truth. It's how I perceive things and how I've experienced going from broke to financial independence in a relatively short period of time in a brand new country, no formal education and no business network. So, this is the point I want to make, is that when we live from a truth. So let's look at truths. One may be a truth of you may believe in hard work. I mean, if I asked a crowd of people, which I did this morning, who believes that they just tried a bit harder, that they would get better results. And I put my hand up, and most of the people in the room put their hand up. They're business owners. So there is a truth of believing that hard work is the way to get through. But let's just think about that idea. It's exhausting. And that's why a lot of people get to a point in their life where they become really good at problem solving, and they look at the age of sort of 40 and they look ahead and all they can see is they're going to be doing more of the same for the next 20 years or so until they retire, buy a caravan and drive around Australia. So that's exhausting. So that's looking externally. That's believing that we are it, that this physical body is it, and that we're fighting against the elements to bring in the bacon so that we can live. So that's one way of looking at life. That is a hard work look. Then there's the intelligence look, where we go and get educated, formal education, and so on, and keep re-educating, because that's the way to success. And yes, it does. It does work for a lot of people. However, it again can be exhausting, because again you're using your human intelligence to outwit other humans and accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. Then there is a truth in religion where people um, become aware that maybe there's a higher power, but all the time they're looking at this higher power as being outside of them, and that this higher power, or with whatever group that they join, there are rules that they're living by, and so they're living by these rules, but they're not necessarily getting what they want out of life. They're not experiencing life as they would genuinely want. So that's the question: is, if you ask yourself, what would I want to experience right now? I suppose that really is the only question. There is a balance between, we've got to go and do stuff. We've got to, in our modern world, generate a dollar to pay for anything that we want. And that's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we're not balancing the external work that we have to do, solving problems to earn the money that we earn, with doing the internal work with what is possible, what is it that I really want for my life, then we burn out. We run into a brick wall. We just think, well, what's the point? And the point is self-leadership. The point is learning to lead yourself responsibly. So if the truths that I've mentioned, hard work, intelligence, religion or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, if those are working for you, getting the results that you want, then you don't need to listen to what I'm going to say. But if you're not getting the results that you want, and you want to learn how to disrupt your results, then all I'm going to be talking about today is just reminding you, you already know this, just reminding you that you need to work out what experience you want to have in life, in your work life, in your family life, in your relationships, in your health and well-being, and so on. What experience do you want? And then I'm just going to give you some practical tips to remind you of what you already know how to do. Because if we don't do it, nothing's going to change. So what I'm about to share with you will change your life forever if you learn to apply it. If you understand what I say and apply what I say, it'll give you release. Okay, and this is just a bit of backstory why I could say that. Well, I moved back to Australia, born in Australia, grew up in Zimbabwe, moved back to Australia about 2003, started a couple of businesses in Sydney, and we didn't have enough money to pay for all the mistakes we were making. So we lost everything. Brand new back in a first world country, probably one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. I have no formal education, so I couldn't get a job straight away. My wife could because she's a bookkeeper. And so she was a bit miffed that I lost everything. Then she could get a job. And I was, I sort of commission-based sales jobs. And that's it. That's what I had. And, sometimes I got a sale and sometimes I didn't. And I had to work doubly hard because I wasn't trained in sales. So I just winged it and made it up as I went. And so it was not a happy situation because I'm now looking at 35, lost everything, brand new back in Australia. We never intended to grow old, my wife and I, broke. We never intended to not enjoy growing old together. We never intended that. And so I had to wake up to the fact that one, the truths that I was living by in the past had caused the issue. I had to accept responsibility 100%. And I couldn't blame anyone. I couldn't blame circumstances, excuse me, because there were people around us that were in the same environment who were smashing it, living a great life. So it was me, not anything else. And I couldn't make excuses because I didn't have an education and so on, because there's a lot of people that don't rely on education as their way to create the life that they want. So I couldn't make those excuses. And it was pointless. I realized no one's coming to save me. So the pity party stopped quite quickly. Fortunately, I had a mentor, and I recognized that mentors actually are valuable. And here's why. Before I left Zimbabwe, I had 3 people that I respected who were very successful in business. One was retired when he was 30, and the other one is doing really well now. And my father-in-law had built an enormous company from a young age, from the age of 12. He never went to senior school. He just built a company, 750 odd staff. And he had done really well. He's just a humble guy. So I went to each one of those, I called them my board of directors before we came to Australia. And I said, this is my idea. I want to start a business. When I get you, this is a business idea, blah, blah, blah. And all 3 of them said, no, go to Australia, work out what you want to do, and then go and do it. Give yourself 2 years working, getting to understand what's going on there. And I said, well, I know better. So there was a lesson. I didn't listen to people who had created stuff in their life and had gone where I wanted to go. I didn't listen to them. So I lost everything. I had to lose everything to wake up. Then when a gentleman in Sydney who's retired now, moved to the north coast of New South Wales, beautiful human being in business. he said, look, Shane, you've lost all your money. I know what that's like because he had experience in that. And he said, but my life's okay now. Why don't you listen to what I say? Why don't you do what I say? And I said, yeah, teach me. That's what I said to him. And so what happened was I started to relearn how our mind works and how we can learn to actually achieve better outcomes in our life. Anyway, so one of the principles I want to talk about today, whatever we think about, we bring about. We've heard that over and over. What we think about, we become what we think about. So the question is, what are you thinking about right now? Are you imagining, using your imagination to imagine what it is that you would love to experience right now? Or are you thinking about what you don't want? Are you looking at your results and saying, that's not what I want? And you're focused on that. Are you looking at your cash flow if you run a business and saying, this cash flow is not working? We're looking down the barrel of a problem. Are you focused on the problem, or are you imagining what experience you would love? Well, what I'm suggesting here is that there's a balance between both. Otherwise, if you're so focused on the problem, as I said a minute ago, we become what we think about. We start to channel our energy in a certain direction. You need a balance where you channel your energy. So what has influenced your mind at the moment? What are the outcomes that you're focused on that's kind of moving you in that direction to get a repeat of the same over and over? So I love what here I've got here. A good leader remains focused. Controlling your direction is better than it them being controlled by it. And it was Jack Welch, chairman of General Electric, who said that. I thought that was pretty pointed. So are you focused on what is, or are you still curious enough to consider what could be? And it's the balance that is really important. It's really difficult. And it takes something really special for someone to explore their future and what's possible with just an idea of what they would prefer, with a vision or a what you could call an impossible goal, one that is way outside of your current circle of understanding, your current belief system, what is possible for you, which is an interesting concept because when we were born, we were ignorant. And you were ignorant of what you know now. So what it proves is that you can learn stuff. But if you are operating to a certain truth, which we can call a paradigm, which is a collection of habits, beliefs, self-image in your subconscious mind, if you're subscribing to that and you're saying, well, that's the limits of what's possible for me, if you question that, it's actually a ridiculous idea. So then we can start to see, well, if you're not experiencing what you want, then you need to go back to understand what it is that you're thinking that's causing the experience that you don't want. So just to qualify that, for years, when we lost the business, I decided that I needed to earn $1,000 a day. This was in 2005. And there's a story why I got to that conclusion. And so I just set the goal. I have to earn $1,000 a day. So I'm going as hard as I can, doing whatever I can, sales, and various different products. And some days I'd earn that 1,000, a little bit more, and other days nothing. And then I said to my wife, look, we've just got to buy a business, any business. So we bought a business. And the one thing about that business that I liked was that it had a product or a service that was a contract that we could grow the contract, and it was a reliable income source. And so we built that over 12 years, and then we sold it for a reasonable amount of money. But there was a point in that whole journey of that business where I couldn't understand how we were going to ever really enjoy experiencing life. We're living literally in paradise in a little bit of Australia that is just wonderful, and there's just wonderful all over Australia. But we like this area because of the weather, and we're close to the ocean, but we've got the bush right here, and so it just works out really well. But I couldn't understand how do we actually just enjoy life, because every day was get up and really go hard at this business, which served us well, but I didn't love it. It paid the bills and made good money. We went on holiday as a result, but it's not what I came to this planet to experience. It's what I had to do to get to a different outcome. It was a bridge between where I was, lost, broke, to where I want to be, which is financial independence, to choose to do what I want to do for the rest of my life. Okay, I'm going into the afternoon of my life. May not be obvious, but I am. And so for the rest of my time on this planet, I want to do what I'm doing right now, is helping people like my mentor in Sydney when I lost everything, show them how to get from where they are, which I was in a deep depression, feeling sorry for myself, licking my wounds, but I had to get up and get going again. I couldn't stay there. I had a young family. And so how do you practice creating hope? How do you be practical about moving towards that impossible goal? Well, that's what I want to talk to you about today. So the question is, how do you become effective at balancing the internal work that you need to do that creates, and your external work, which is the problem solving that we become so focused on, and our society's focused on it, and it's really good at it. Okay, we become good at it, and people who really become good at problem solving, they earn the big money. You take anyone that is really skilled at problem solving, take specialist medical doctors, they get paid the good money because they can solve really big problems for people. The lawyers that can put up a good argument and understand their craft get paid the good money because they can solve the big problems that big corporations have, and so on. I mean, the examples are endless, but it may not be why you came here, what you came to experience in life. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through some things, some ideas. I don't want to keep this short, so let's start. So I want to remind you to just recognize where you are. What work do you do? How long have you been doing that? Question is, that's what is right now. Ask yourself and be honest with yourself, and actually love yourself enough to stop and ask this question regularly. Is this what you really want to do? If you're within a corporation, are you in the right position? Or are you, as they say, square peg, round hole? Are you forcing yourself to do what other people have said that you have to do, not what you would love to do? Because imagine if you were doing the work that you love to do, you'd be unstoppable. That's when people say they don't ever work again. It's because they're not working. They're actually doing what they came here to do. They're expressing themselves from something that's deep within. So I'll give you a scenario. This is interesting. I've mentioned this before, but I'll be very brief. I'm one of the guys that watches those TV shows where it's the unknown artist goes onto the stage. So The Voice or American Idol, UK Idol, and so on. All these sort of shows. I can get stuck into that because what it is human expression, people expressing themselves. But where it gets absolutely transformational for those people is the story of the guy that works on a construction site, and then he's asked, why are you here on the stage? Well, he says, well, my mate actually, he listens to me singing every day. He put in my application because I didn't have the confidence to do it. I didn't think anyone would want to hear my voice. Anyway, when the person sings, it lights up the audience. Everyone's absolutely mesmerized, and the applause erupts when that person finishes singing. And then the golden buzzers hit, and the accolades come, and you watch that person, and it's palpable. You can feel it through the screen how that person is so surprised that they found who they are. I'm suggesting that every single one of us should have that moment in their life where you realize who you really are. So when you start asking these questions, then it becomes interesting, because if you ask yourself, what would I love my life to look like 12 months or beyond? When you ask that question, it's a what could be question. Your logic and reason is not invited. Just park it on the side. Ask yourself that question. What would you love? Have fun with it. Why not? I mean, what's the point of being serious all the time? Why not have a bit of fun? So if you ask that question over and over, what would I love to experience right now? And have fun with that. And start looking for the good. Start lifting the energy within you, and some people call it lifting your spirits to what's possible. When we live in a world that is so functional, that is saying, this Excel spreadsheet shows the projection for the next 12 months is looking like we're going to achieve this goal and that goal. That's great. And we are so blessed that we've got people that can do that kind of work, that actually love doing that. But we don't all have to do that. And if you are the person who does the projections and so on, you can also ask yourself, what would I love to experience right now? And this is slightly different to what's the goal I want to achieve. Because what is experience? Experience is the feeling of what you're experiencing. It's more than just buying the car. I had a goal of buying a certain type of Land Cruiser. We owned safari businesses for years. I grew up on a farm, and we had Land Rovers, and we were always driving in the bush and things like that. And so I like that kind of car. It reminds me of past lives, of when I had fun and things like that. And we like to go on to Fraser Island and so on. We like to do that. So I imagined I had a work ute 4x4 double cab, and it wasn't a Land Cruiser. That's all I'll tell you. So when I got a photograph of the type of Land Cruiser that I wanted on my phone, I used to look at it often, just because I was playing the game. And then when I got into my old ute, I would imagine driving that Land Cruiser. So wherever I went, I was sitting in the Land Cruiser in my imagination. Within 2 years, I owned that exact vehicle when you couldn't buy those vehicles in Australia because of COVID and all that. You couldn't buy them. I got one. There were 4 left in Newcastle. And the one that I wanted was white. And it's exactly the same tray on the back as the one in my photograph. Exactly what I wanted. So some people say it's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's how it all works. So when you have fun with this and you learn that there's a balance between internal and external work, then you can have fun with it. So then you can go on to ask questions about, do you have financial goals? Because these are important ideas or questions that you can ask yourself. How much you want to earn, how much you want in savings, how much you want to live on, and how much you're currently earning. All right, you can ask those questions, because then you can, when you start to understand these things, when you start to understand how much do I want to earn, then, and you start to earn that, you can apply that to any area of your life. if it's a home or holiday experience, or if you are going on one major holiday a year and you want to go on more than one holiday, because what is life? Life's about experiences. It who bought the idea that we can only have one vacation a year? Why is that? Why do we believe that idea? Is it a truth that we bought, that someone sold us? It, we you can design your life however you want it. You don't have to design it according to what the neighbor does, your dad did, your mum did, your brother and sister did, or your cousin did. You don't have to buy that. You can design it how you want it. Okay, so let's say that you figure out what you want, but here's the thing: what do you need to do? What do you think you need to do to change to achieve any goal, financial goal, um, a major goal in life, buying a certain type of home or a certain luxury car, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, nothing's right or wrong. It's just what it is, what you genuinely want to experience in life. Okay, so I'm going to go forward here and see if I can find some examples. So what you have to do, and this is the crux, is all you have to do is change your thinking. You see, your results are a direct reflection of what's going on inside of you at any moment of time. It's just a reflection. And until you change what's going on the inside, nothing's going to change on the outside. This is an important idea. So if you say that you want to earn a certain amount, but you're earning X at the moment, you want to earn Y, until you make a committed decision that you're going to go after what you want, that impossible goal, the one that you way outside of what you experience, nothing's going to change because there's no reason to change. You've got to create the reason for yourself. So nothing's going to change if you keep doing what you're doing right now on your own. And this is the fact that most people will default to what they know, and they keep doing what they know. But then there's that nagging frustration. But that's what I want. Okay. So all you have to do is shift your paradigm. The paradigm is a multitude of fixed ideas, habits, routines, your belief system, and your self-image. It's all set within your subconscious mind. Your operating system is happening all the time. It's the way you brush your teeth. You'll use the same hand. Most people just use the same hand every day to brush your teeth because that's your routine. And so your results are a direct reflection of the routine that you're operating from. And interestingly, the paradigm keeps you centered in accepting only certain information. So there'll be people who will listen to what I'm saying and say, it's rubbish. Why? Not because it's rubbish, it's because their paradigm doesn't agree with what I'm saying. That's all it is. So if you wanted to achieve a certain goal, a financial goal, let's just use that as an example because it's easy to measure financial goals. That's why I like them. Not everyone's motivated by money, but that's not the point. The money buys stuff that we want. The money buys the vacation, the cars, the house, whatever we want in life. It actually buys the freedom to choose what you want to do. That's what it's done for me. I've sold a business and now I have a lump of value that allows me to slow down and say, okay, well, I want to go in a different direction in my life, and gives me time to do that in my own time. I'm not clocking in and out and worried about, that budget meeting I've got to go to and things like that. I'm not worried about that at all. And I can absolutely recommend doing whatever you have to do to get to where you can just say, okay, pause. If it takes me 5 years to change the direction of my life, which it won't, things happen a lot quicker than that. But you're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow financially. Okay. So you have to shift your paradigm, and that's the way you think, and that's the way you see yourself in the world. And that's the biggest part of the paradigm is self-image. So what I love about my mentor, Bob Proctor, he used this stick figure for probably 55 years of his life. He taught this idea. And the reason why it's important is no one's ever seen the mind. So when you use the stick figure concept, this graphic, you can create order in your mind. You can understand what's happening in your conscious mind, what's happening in your emotional mind, your subconscious, and why you're getting the results that you're getting. Because if you research it enough, you'll understand that it is our emotional state of mind that drives our behavior. It's our behavior that gives us our result. So what's happening in our emotional mind is the point that needs to be altered if we want to get different results. And it's actually quite straightforward. It's not easy because you're operating from your paradigm. And so what I recognized early on when I said to my mentor in Sydney, when I was in that deep hole, teach me, what he was showing me was how to see life and business from his paradigm, which was he was experiencing success when I met him. So he was saying he was down in the dark where I was, but he had gone to this place now and he can see it from a different point of view. So if you start to look at things from that point of view, you're going to achieve things faster. And as a result, there's a book at the back here, my journal from 2005 with that mentor. And the story I've written in there is what I live right now. I think that's quite fabulous, actually, if you can grasp that concept. I just accepted what he said and I did what he said because I looked at his results and I knew who he was listening to. In fact, he was listening to Bob Proctor, who he recommended that I should start listening to. In fact, Bob Proctor became my mentor. That's who I learned from later on after the gent from Sydney. Anyway, so let's say that this stick figure represents your mind. Okay, the top part of the big circle is your conscious mind, and the bottom half is your subconscious mind. And then the little circle at the bottom, that's your body. Okay, your conscious mind is your thinking mind. That's where you have your higher mental faculties. And when you understand how to use those, it gives you an enormous advantage in the workplace, in your business life, because most people don't understand them. They don't know how to utilize them to their advantage. So if you have that as your advantage, if you get to understand it, life becomes a lot easier because you actually, when people are talking to you, you can understand what paradigm they're coming from. It makes it a lot easier. And if you've got staff and they understand this concept because you're teaching it to them, you can get people behind your mission, your objective so much easier because people understand how the mind works. Okay, so your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. That's where the paradigm resides. And the paradigm, just as we say, a collection of fixed ideas that you consented to, and that forms your beliefs, the image you hold of yourself, which impacts your confidence in the workplace, in your business, and so on. It impacts the type of decisions that you make. You know, if you find that you procrastinate, there's a self-image challenge that just needs to be rectified. That's all. It's not complicated. It's not who you are because of the genes that you were born with. It's got nothing to do with that. Everything is fluid. You can always learn. So this is one of the paradigms that, or one of the truths that people buy into, that the scorecard they got when they were at school or university defines who they are going forward. It's not true. That was just a moment in time, but who you are right now and what you do right now actually defines who you become. That's really it. Okay, and we can learn to become who we want to become. So let's go on here. So the paradigm is made up of fixed ideas, patterns of thought, and your self-image. And it keeps you feeling in a certain way. It keeps you in a state, in an attitude. An attitude is just a composite of your thoughts, feelings, an action. All right, so the only thing that I would love to leave you with today is changing the paradigm. Two main ways. There are many ways, but there's two main ways. One is an emotional impact. So that's usually a shock to the system. That's usually something that's unpleasant. It's not wanted. But it's a moment where you kind of shift your thinking because life isn't going on as it is normally, where it's comfortable and so on. Something emotionally impacts you. And it's usually negative, and that's not how you want to change your paradigm because you can't really control it. The next way of shifting your paradigm is constant spaced repetition over time. And if you want to shorten time, then find a mentor who has got to where you want to be and is willing and able to articulate how to get from where you are to where you want to be. Mentorship's an important idea that is underrated in our society by many people. People would rather go and get another degree than find a mentor to help them to get to where they want to go. So what is mentorship? Well, it is the transfer of information and knowledge. Yes, get that. But people read, like all these self-help books I've read over the years, and that they're full of all the information I'm talking about right now. But until you learn to implement them in your life, until you learn how to apply them to your situation, they're meaningless. It's just more knowledge, more information. No one needs more information. We've got plenty. Okay. It's the application of these new ideas and the accountability of holding you accountable to where you want to go so that you don't deviate, because the paradigm in all of us is so strong. The bigger the goal that you've got set outside of your comfort zone, the more the paradigm, your fixed ideas, your rational mind is going to resist change, and is going to find all the reasons why you should stay safe, secure where you are, and not take the risk. And so often that dream of what is you want is actually just put to bed, forgotten about. And we go back to watching Netflix and, going out for a party on the weekend with the mates, because it's a lot easier to do that because we know how to do that and we don't have to think about this new idea. So most people will default to, let's just do more of the same. And this is the biggest tragedy in life, because if you just learn to play one game, and I'm going to leave you with this one game, and that is, how can I be surprised today? And the rules of that game is, one, your rational mind is not allowed to play. So there's no, how's that possible? If I don't deserve it, you don't deserve it, you're not capable, none of that. All it is you imagine what you would love to experience today. Then I would write it down. So I write down what I want to experience today, carry it around. It's my pocket billboard. This is where I want to go. Okay, this is what I want to experience today. I know what my ultimate goal is. I write that out all the time because I'm building a vision of what it is I want for the future. So yes, you do the same. Get a journal. That's what this journal's for. I just keep writing it out, and you build a story around what it is that you want. I did that in 2005. I'm living it now. We didn't own property in 2005. Now we own properties next door to each other, a couple of acres on each, with the home office I imagined in 2005. That's where I'm sitting right now. Okay. How did that happen? Lots of things happened in between, but we got to the experience of this now. That's what I imagined I wanted to experience. I get to come here all the time now. So the rules of the game, how would I like to be surprised? Go into every day anticipating you're going to be surprised, pleasantly surprised by something that's going to just give you an indication that you're going in the right direction. So you start to look for the good. You're dealing with the problems, but you're balancing the internal work with the external work. Okay. And the internal work is as important even though you can't tangibly see it, we can all see what's going on in our bank account. We can see the lack of sales in our business. We can see the cash flow issues that we've got. We can see the employee challenges that we've got. We can see that. Okay, that's fine, but you've got to balance. Otherwise, you're going to end up being mechanical about life and not experiencing life. And so I hope that helps. And I intend to be back on Friday. And next week, probably not, because we are going to see my daughter in New Zealand, doing a 10-day tour around there. She's been training polo horses there. So we're just going to enjoy the North Island. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.